Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment of our program brought to you by Madisonville Marine. Great deals on Skeeter boats right now and through October 15th. You got about 2 weeks. Skeeter made the very first bass boat, but nobody does a better job of selling Skeeter boats than Madisonville Marine. Get up to $2,500 back right now with rebates on select models of Skeeter at Madisonville Marine. When I tell you there's no place to buy a boat, I mean it. No better place to buy a boat. All right. Back with all the media guys, Bob, Josh, Jimmy, Chuck. What's up with the offense? It was a more balanced attack from Tennessee yesterday. You already mentioned the first down thing. They passed it a little bit, well, a lot more on first down yesterday than they did the previous week. The problem was the balance went out the window when you couldn't run. You ran for 66 yards. We talk about the quarterbacks and maybe you should be taking more shots. Jimmy, you hit this one earlier too, and that is, are they scared they're going to get Garantano hit by dropping back? So I ask you, where do you lay the blame on this? We've talked about the offensive line all year. We've talked about play calling and whether that can mask some of this or if that's adding to this. We've talked. One thing we haven't talked about that I think is key is lack of execution. I mean, sometimes you can have a bad play call that player makes a big play. That's a great call. And just the opposite. You can have the perfect play call and they don't execute it. It looks like a stupid call. Where are you guys? What's the problem with this offense?
It all starts with the offensive line to me. I mean, and how many, how deep in your playbook can go if you really can't block anybody. And even watching some of the replay, there's entirely too many times when an offensive lineman at Tennessee doesn't block anybody. I mean, even if it's the person right across the line from him. So I'm saying that's where it starts, and I think if it's not talent, do you start questioning, some of the coaching? I don't know. But I think it all starts with the offensive line, and the SEC is a line of scrimmage league.
I'm with Chuck. I think it does start with the offensive line. I think the offensive line concerns can lead to some play calling issues, and I think that can lead to some execution issues as well. And if you can't run the football and you're trying to be a power running team, you're in trouble. And so I think that does affect a lot of things. I think that's one reason that Tennessee was also 2 of 10 on third down conversions yesterday, because about 6 of those were 3rd and 7 or more because you weren't effective on first down. I just don't think the offensive line has given the offense much of a chance.
And I'm going to stay with the offensive line, but the offensive line, if you can't block, you're going to get, we saw strip sacks that didn't work for Tennessee yesterday, but if you don't block, you get strip sacks, you get turnovers, you get lost yardage. I think it leads directly to their conservative play calling, because I don't think it's okay, we don't have faith in Garantano, our receivers, or our backs. I just don't think they have enough faith in that offensive line to be able to pull out a bunch of different stuff that's probably in their playbook, because, okay, Georgia, you had a nice first half defensively, you were still close and in the ball game, but what happens if you're calling plays, you turn it over 2 more times? And then it gets out of hand all off Florida. So I think the bad offensive line, I don't blame the conservative play calling, although I don't like the always running on first down, because I think you almost have to do it.
Which they didn't run every time on first down. I got a couple of tweets today saying that they did it 90% of the time yesterday. No, they didn't. Josh, your thoughts on this offense? I looked at it. I was thinking, what would Jim Chaney do? Now, that's another offensive coordinator. When he was offensive coordinator here, people didn't like it. Nobody ever likes the offensive coordinator, but he's a creative guy. I was thinking that 4th and 1 little sweet play they ran for the first down.
Terrific play.
Would that work for Tennessee with their line? I'm sitting there thinking, I don't know if this line could even make that work. So what can you do differently with this offense? If you think that's, where do you think the problem is? I may be wrong. It's hard for me to blame play calling. I don't know what Jim Chaney or somebody else would do differently. I think it all comes back to the offensive line. Maybe you disagree with the rest of us.
Yeah, that's why I think with the core of this conversation is the offensive line, because you can talk about play calling, you're talking about trying to move the ball down the field, trying to get the ball to the playmakers. If you say, well, we don't trust the offensive line, then you always come back to the question, what can we do? And I think that's probably affecting the confidence of the coaching staff and what they can call, because they see the offensive line and oftentimes overall protection or blocking issues, because the tight ends and running backs, again, have been involved there too. But it starts with the offensive line. And until that gets figured out, it's going to limit what the offense can be.
I'm not so sure that the offensive line has been one reason Tennessee has not tried to do much toward the end of a half or a game at times. You only had 30 seconds, right, against Georgia. But I'm part of me's thinking, okay, don't get the quarterback hit again.
Yeah. But so first half yesterday, you had 3 first downs. You finished the game 2 of 10 on third down conversions. how are you going to have an effective offense with those kind of numbers? You got to do something to correct that.
For all the people that are questioning Ty Helton right now, I think it's telling that now he hasn't called plays before, but he's been associated with Western Kentucky. He was offensive coordinator for 2 years, pass game coordinator for 2 years at Southern Cal. They were basically 1-to-1 pass to run, which is in modern football, that's wide open. And here you're more than 2-to-1. Yesterday you weren't, but overall you're more than 2-to-1 run to pass, and that's more conservative than the offenses he's been attached to. I just wonder if this is what he wants to do. Is this what Pruitt wants to do? Is this more product of, as we said, it's all we can do? Yeah. All right. When we come back, our VFLs join us. Everybody knows Tennessee has been guilty of slow starts on offense. They've also had some poor finishes on defense. We'll compare which is the bigger issue moving forward. Our VFLs discuss on the other side of this break. Come on back on the Sports Source.